Rome, a city of marble, dust, and whispers. A city that grew fat on empire. By the 1st century of our era, it was a place of contrasts, elegant baths and filthy alleys, senators with gold rings and beggars who shuffled for scraps, the smell of incense and dung mingling in the same breeze. And in this world, emperors rose, some brilliant, some forgettable, and some strange. One of the strangest was a man named Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, a name far too long for most tongues. Instead, he was called Caligula. The name means little boots. It was given to him as a child when he toddled about in miniature soldier shoes, following his father's army. It was meant as an endearment. It stuck as a curse. Caligula became emperor in the year 37. His reign lasted less than 4 years. But in that short time, stories clung to him like burrs on wool. Stories of cruelty, stories of madness, and stories of a horse he supposedly made a senator. This is not a tale of triumph, nor of tragedy. It is a tale of strangeness. A tale where fact and rumor blur until they feel as soft and slippery as wet clay. So, let us walk slowly into the world of Caligula, step by step, as if along a Roman road. The stones uneven, but the way still leading us somewhere. Caligula's life began in the shadow of armies. His father was Germanicus, a beloved general of Rome. Soldiers adored him, and the people adored him too. When Caligula was still small, he was dressed in tiny armor with little boots on his feet. Soldiers laughed and nicknamed him Caligula. His childhood was not gentle. Rome was not gentle. His family was tied by blood to Augustus, the first emperor. That meant both privilege and danger. His relatives were poisoned, accused, exiled. His father died young, perhaps murdered. His mother was banished. His brothers were killed. Caligula learned early that love in Rome was fragile, power was stronger, and suspicion was strongest of all. Still, the people had hopes for him. The young man seemed charming, polite, even shy. When the Emperor Tiberius took him in, Caligula played the part of the dutiful boy. He survived where others did not. And when Tiberius finally died, an old man hated by the people, the Senate declared Caligula emperor. The crowds rejoiced, at last a fresh start. A young ruler with the blood of Augustus, a hope for renewal. For a while, it seemed true. Caligula gave bonuses to soldiers. He ended harsh treason trials. He brought back exiles. The people cheered. The Senate praised him. Coins were minted with his smiling face. But something shifted. Some say it was illness. He fell sick, gravely sick, not long after becoming emperor. He recovered, but not the same. Others say he had always been cruel, just hiding it. Whatever the cause, the gentle image cracked. And what came through was something darker. The Romans whispered that Caligula went mad. But what does madness mean? To his enemies, the senators, the historians who wrote about him, it meant cruelty, excess, absurdity. To the common people, perhaps it meant unpredictability. A ruler who could shower them with games one day and taxes the next. He demanded to be worshipped as a living god. Temples built, sacrifices offered, statues of himself placed where statues of Jupiter once stood. He dressed as gods and goddesses, parading in costumes of Hercules, Mercury, even Venus. A strange sight, an emperor in wigs and gowns. He enjoyed humiliating senators. He mocked them in public, forced them to run beside his chariot like servants, invited them to dinner, then burst into laughter, saying he could have them executed on a whim. There were tales of cruelty too sharp to be forgotten. Prisoners executed for amusement, families destroyed at a gesture, rumors of incest, though such things were often whispered about emperors. And through all of it, the people wondered, was he insane? Or was he simply showing the truth of power? Perhaps cruelty was not madness. Perhaps it was just Roman politics without the mask. And then there was the horse. His name was Incitatus, which means swift or impetuous. A fine horse, snow white, with sleek muscles that rippled like water. Caligula loved him, or at least loved what he represented. The story goes that Incitatus lived better than most Romans. His stable was made of marble. His trough was of ivory. He wore purple blankets, the color of emperors, and a collar of jewels. Servants fed him oats mixed with gold flakes. Before races, Caligula ordered silence in the neighborhood so his beloved horse could sleep undisturbed. Guards kept watch. Guests were made to swear oaths for Incitatus' health. And then the tale that stuck most of all Caligula supposedly made the horse a senator, or at least promised to. Ancient writers disagree. Some say it happened. Others say it was a threat, a cruel joke, a way of mocking the Senate. "You are so useless," he might have said, "that even my horse could do your job." Whether true or not, the image is irresistible. A white horse draped in purple, seated among robed senators, hooves clattering on the marble floor, neighing during debates. The Senate reduced to farce, and perhaps that is why the story survived. Not because it was true, but because it felt true, because it captured the strangeness of Caligula. Caligula's Rome was a theater, every day new performances. He loved games and spectacles. Gladiators fought for his amusement. Exotic animals were displayed, paraded, and slaughtered. He spent vast sums on entertainment, emptying the treasury with the speed of sand through an hourglass. He also built. He ordered aqueducts, temples, and palaces, but he also built oddities bridges across bays, ships with marble floors, gardens floating on water. Some practical, some absurd, some perhaps never real at all, just stories told later. Everywhere, the line between truth and rumor blurred. Some accounts say he waged war against the sea itself, marching his soldiers to the shore, ordering them to stab the waves and collect seashells as spoils of victory. Was it madness, or satire, or simply a tale invented later to paint him as a fool? The empire groaned under the weight of his demands. Taxes rose. Senators sulked. Plots brewed in shadows. Yet the people, the ordinary crowd, still found reasons to cheer. Bread was handed out. Games were free. And games for a hungry belly could mean more than politics. Rome is a city of noise. The rattle of carts, the calls of vendors, the clatter of sandals on stone. But beneath the noise, there are always whispers. By the year 40, the whispers about Caligula grew sharper. Senators muttered in comers. Officers of the Praetorian Guard exchanged looks. Even those who had once laughed at his jokes now measured their words more carefully. He had mocked too many, taxed Lou heavily, offended too often. He treated senators as clowns. He drained the treasury like a thirsty man with a wineskin. And he placed his trust not in noblemen, but in favorites, freedmen, and entertainers. The Senate could not move against him openly. Too dangerous. Too many soldiers. Too much fear. But fear has limits. And in the spaces where fear begins to crack, plots begin to grow. The guards, the Praetorians, were men meant to protect him. But even they were not immune to resentment. Caligula had insulted their commanders, sometimes even struck them. He forgot, perhaps, that an emperor who toys with soldiers toys with the very hands that hold his life. It was the 24th of January in the year 41. Caligula, attended games in the theater as emperors often did. He was in a good mood, it is said, perhaps too good. He lingered with friends, jested with actors, drank deeply of the atmosphere of spectacle. When the games ended, he prepared to leave. He walked through a passageway beneath the theater, narrow and shadowed. His attendants followed. So did members of the guard. And there, in that corridor, the knives came out. Accounts differ. Some say it was a single officer, Cassius Chaerea, who struck first. Others say a group of guards fell upon him together. Either way, Caligula was stabbed again and again. The man who mocked the Senate, who dreamed of gods and horses, who once ruled the empire, fell to the ground bleeding. His cries echoed in the passage. His blood pooled on the stone. He was only 28 years old. The assassins did not stop there. They hunted down his wife, Caesonia. They killed his little daughter, Julia Drusilla, only a child. Rome was not gentle. Rome was never gentle. The people panicked. Some cheered, some mourned, some simply ran, as they always did, to find safety in chaos. The Senate debated restoring the Republic. Old dreams die hard, but the soldiers had other ideas. Within days, Caligula's uncle, Claudius, was declared emperor. The wheel tuned once more. Caligula's reign had lasted not even 4 years. Yet the stories lingered, more vivid than those of emperors who ruled decades. The horse senator, the seashell war, the living god parading in gowns. Stories so strange, so absurd that they almost feel like fables. Historians wonder how much is truth, how much is rumor. Ancient writers Suetonius, Cassius Dio, Tacitus had their own motives. They wrote from the perspective of the Senate, the elite, those most insulted by Caligula. Their pens were sharp, sometimes sharper than any sword. Perhaps Caligula was crueler than they describe, perhaps kinder, perhaps simply eccentric, playing roles, testing limits, mocking a Senate he despised. The truth is missed, but the stories remain solid, and sometimes stories shape memory more than facts ever could. So, when we think of Caligula today, we do not remember his aqueducts. We do not remember his administrative edicts, his coins, his treaties. We remember the horse, a horse in purple, a senator with hooves. Whether it happened or not, the image is too delicious to abandon. History is not a clean mirror. It is a pond, rippling, shifting, reflecting shapes that change with the light. Caligula's reflection is one of the strangest of all. Was he mad? Was he cruel? Was he simply an emperor who showed Rome its own absurdity? We cannot say for certain, but we can sit with the image. A marble stable, an ivory trough, a horse fed on gold, a senate mocked by a nay. It is almost like a dream, or perhaps a nightmare, a story whispered in the dark, with the edges softened by time. It is almost like a dream, or perhaps a nightmare, a story whispered in the dark, with the edges softened by time. And as we let the story settle, we may notice something gentle beneath it, that even in cruelty, even in madness, human beings have always found ways to tell tales, to laugh at power, to turn emperors into legends and legends into lessons. Caligula died long ago. His horse is dust, but the story still lives. And so, as we leave this tale, let us walk away slowly, like travelers leaving a strange carnival at dusk. The music faint, the lights fading, the echoes of laughter and cruelty mingling in the air. Rome continues, the world continues. But for a moment, in the quiet, we remember the emperor who made his horse a senator, or perhaps only promised to.